Welcome back. You're watching World Talks, and I'm your host, Claudia Czerwińska. The roadmap presented in Toulon during the 25th Franco-German Council of Ministers made it clear President Macron and Chancellor Merz intend to overcome recent years' disagreements on the most problematic topics: energy, digital technology, defense, trade, and space. To dive deeper into what was said and what it actually meant in relation to the Friday meeting, I'm joined by Romain Le Quiniou, Managing Director at the Euro Creative. Good evening, and thank you for joining on the program.
Good evening. Thank you for your invitation.
Always a pleasure. So, Chancellor Merz struck a confident note when he said, quote, "The Franco-German engine has been restarted again." There was definitely good atmosphere when it comes to that German-French delegation in Toulon. Probably one of the most important outcomes of this meeting. Does this almost mythical duo, so to speak, the foundation of the European Union, still have the energy to solve real problems? What's your opinion?
I think it was an interesting meeting because it happened, and it didn't happen for the last 2 years. So I think that first, this is a victory. It happened. It was a good atmosphere, as you said, because there is a new relationship between the heads of states of France and Germany. It's over the time with Chancellor Merz, with Chancellor Scholz, that was in terrible condition when it comes to the relation with the French president. So now we can see that the two heads of states have a decent relationship. They show to the people, to the world, to the citizen that they want to cooperate. Now let's see in the details, because we know that the French and German relationship at the moment is still very tensed on a number of topics. And let's not forget that this type of meeting is especially to coordinate on technical aspects of the cooperation. And it was especially resolved around competitivity, around economic topics. This is a success in this way, but we should not forget also the political situation right now. It's not the best time in Germany, we know it. The AfD is rising fast, the Die Linke as well, and the government, despite the fact that they've been elected since a few months, they are already in difficulty, or at least there is a pressure already on the coalition and on Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And in France, I'm sorry to say, but this is a very difficult situation at the moment, as we are waiting for the French government to fall in the next few days.
So I would like to take off from what you just said. In Germany, Chancellor Merz elicits favorable opinions among only 32% of German public, compared to 56% when it came to Chancellor Scholz, 74% when it came to Angela Merkel. And on the other hand, in France, Mr. Macron's situation is even more precarious. I mean, we have an expected fall of the government of Prime Minister François Bayrou on September 8th. This could possibly happen. So we're having both difficult domestic situations when it comes to popularity, when it comes to the stability of the governments. To what extent do you think that France's and Germany's political instability can put those Franco-German relationship and alliance to the test?
Well, look, I think that the French-German relationship is important. We cannot deny it. Nobody can deny it, for the simple reason that politically, economically, militarily, those countries are the most powerful in Europe. So this is important, but we should not overestimate this relationship as well. I think in France for a long time we saw it as a couple, and we thought that it was a very exclusive relationship, and that everything European had to come through a Franco-German agreement and all those type of things. And I think this was wrong. It led to some successes. It led to the deepening of the European Union. But in 2025, we have to acknowledge that this Franco-German couple has been discredited all over Europe, because this was one of the reasons, at least the Franco-German, naivety, I would say, towards geopolitical developments that put Europe in a precarious condition. So I think this is important. We have to find solution, because the reality indeed is that when France and Germany are not aligned, then the European Union struggle to advance, to progress, to find solutions. This is a reality. But in the same time, we should not just rely on the Franco-German couple. First, this is not what Germany wants. And second, this is not anymore what France wants. But we need to find the way to engage with all the actors. We saw it in the couple of past few months with the United Kingdom, especially on defense and security matters, both at bilateral as well as multilateral level. We saw it also with the Weimar Group very recently in Moldova for a diplomatic offensive of Europeans against Russia when it comes to Moldovan upcoming elections. And we can see it with many different formats. We have to be creative, we have to be innovative, because we need to find solutions. German-Franco relationship is one thing, but let's not forget other formats.
So I would like to focus on Ukraine and France and Germany's stance on support for Ukraine. So we know that France and Germany are among several countries that have certain sort of reservations when it comes to the use of Russian frozen assets to aid Ukraine. Why do you think that is, even though we hear from EU officials such as Kaja Kallas recently that, saying that they should be used?
Well, yeah, I think it's been 3 years we have been discussing about this, and I think this is a high political fight in Europe at the moment, and it will remain so because we can see from different member states a solid position, which is no, we have to use the benefits of the assets, but not the assets per se, because the justification, especially from Paris, is to say that if we use these assets, it will diminish the credibility of the European Union as a financial actor. So, this is an open debate. We can see that there is disunity within the European Union on this topic. There is also a lot of talks involving the US on this topic, and we have to see what will be the future of that. But I'm quite pessimistic about the possibility to do it, because at the moment there is not a consensus, and we are very far from a consensus.
I mean, you said that this is going to undermine EU's reliability when it comes to being a financial actor, but is it okay for Russia to be attacking a sovereign country and killing civilians and targeting civilians on the daily, especially after the Independence Day, and for those frozen assets not being used? This does not hold water as an argument.
Well, as a non-financial expert, I'm fully aligning with your position, and I think that we should use it. We should use it for a simple reason that it is, this is something linked to international law. If you start a war, if you're an aggressor, you have to pay for the consequences. So the frozen assets should pay for repelling the Russian invasion. The frozen assets should pay for rebuilding Ukraine. But this is only my position. And as long as it stands, at the moment, this is not a position that has been able to reach out a consensus. So we are stuck there. And I think that this is one of the debates. I agree with you. Frozen asset, we need to find a solution. But also we need to find all the solution. We need to send, not to sell only more weapons to Ukraine at the moment. And this is where France and Germany are too timid. Still, they are not at the top of the ranking when it comes to support to Ukraine. Nordic Baltic states, for example, are much more proactive still. And I think this is one of the problems today in France. And this is why a lot of people are angry about the political situation, is that it's a lot of instability for France at a time when we cannot allow instability, because it creates financial problems and it creates a lot of issues also when it comes to the standing of France, the capacity to act, the ability to take decisions, the willingness to help Ukraine, to help to reinforce the security in Europe at the worst of the time. So I think indeed this is a very problematic thing. And France and Germany have some solutions. They are part of the solution, but they are not the only one. And so we hope to have an alignment when it comes to France and Germany, especially on things such as the coalition of willing, which I remind you, coalition of willing is nice PR at the moment, but it doesn't develop into anything concrete. So we hope to see that Europeans, and France and Germany have a specific role there, can find solutions together.
So I would like to ask the same question as I asked when it comes to the domestic situation in relation to the Franco-German relationship, but in the context of Ukraine. We know that Ukrainians are fighting to provide security not only to their country, but they're partially basically defending Europe from Russia. This is why Europe is planning to spend more GDP on its defense. Do you think that the domestic situation in both France and Germany is going to affect the extent to which these countries actually support Ukraine?
Well, just look at the polls. In France, the far right, the National Rally, is first. And we know the links between the far right in France and Russia. In Germany, AfD now is head-to-head to the CDU. So we are talking about two parties in the two most important countries, once again, politically, economically, which are at the top positions. And we know that in 2 years there will be very crucial presidential election in France, so we can, be quite afraid of the outcome of this, of the continuing support to Ukraine from Europeans, and in particular from the Western Europeans. What we see at the moment is the degradation of this support, especially at the political and civil society level, because the war is long, because people think first about their own stability, security, and here I'm referring to the economic security, while Ukrainians are defending themselves and defending Europeans, as we said. So this is a very problematic situation. Also because our leaders, especially in Western Europe, are not able anymore, if they were able in the past, let's put the benefit of the doubt, to convince a critical majority of the citizens that this is also their conflict, and that if we don't support Ukraine, if we don't reinforce our defense and security capacity in Europe, we will have to face dramatic consequences in the coming years. And the cost of life that we pay today collectively in the European Union is nothing to what we could pay in the coming years. So yes, I think the support of European citizens towards Ukraine is at stake. External actors are destabilizing our society in part for this reason, and we have to stay resilient. Our politicians need to put first and foremost the national interest, the interest of the citizens, and not political gains.
And my final question, the flagship area of Franco-German cooperation seemed to be before the aviation industry, but at present, there are some problems when it comes to the development of the modern European fighter jet. What are the prospects for the European SCAF, so the future combat air system, combat aircraft, to actually become reality, especially now that Europe is having those discussions about having to be more self-reliant?
Well, I think that France and Germany, during this summit, because there was also a council of France and Germany on security and defense, they wanted to remain cautious on any potential comment regarding the SCAF. The reason is simple. Talks are ongoing. We know that both industry are from France and Germany, especially Dassault Aviation from France, have been quite vocal about the fact that the SCAF project is blocked because of economic divergences as well as political discussions. So we cannot say that there is progress at the moment. Talks are ongoing. This is the same situation as the beginning of the summer, which is that we need to find a solution. There are firm positions from Berlin and Paris, as well as from their industrial companies. And if we don't find a solution, then we need to act. I mean, the SCAF, I think, is a very important project that would be a good illustration on how Europe can become a geopolitical actor if France and Germany are able to produce, the fighter jets of the future. But if we are not able to do it together, then let's find a solution. And maybe the solution is for France to go alone and to build its own fighter jet of the future. We know that France has competency in this field, has experience, and has the expertise to do it. So we need to find a solution. There is no choice. We cannot talk. We cannot discuss for too long. The situation at the moment is complicated enough to avoid this type of disagreement.
Thank you very much, Romain Le Quiniou, Managing Director at the Euro Creative, was my guest. Once again, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
And so this would be all for now here on World Talks. I'm Claudia Czerwińska, and I'll see you very soon for another portion of news and interviews.